Hello, everybody. How are you? We're back again with another video about Charlotte, North Carolina. And this one, we're going to talk about the culture of this great city. And of course, this is a parody channel. Everything, or almost everything you're about to hear, I'm going to completely make up off the top of my head. And guys, let's get right into it because there's so much going on in Charlotte on the cultural and cultural scene, on the cultural front. For example, the Bechler Museum of Modern Art. Now, we talked about this aggressive city, the powers that be having a goal of making the Bechler Museum of Modern Art into a super museum. The project called Super Beck, trying to turn the Museum of Modern Art into a 17-block modern art museum as part of the expansion of the city. The goal to make Charlotte in one of the top 5 cities of the United States in a 2-year period. And that project will launch soon. In the meantime, Bechler Museum of Modern Art, of course, recognized throughout the region as one of the better modern art museums in the region, as I mentioned. There's the Carolinas Aviation Museum. Now, what's interesting about the Carolinas Aviation Museum is that they'll actually let you fly a plane that takes off from the parking lot, and you get to fly it without an instructor. They just trust that if you can drive a car, their motto was, if you can drive a car, you can fly a plane. And I guess the goal in that case is to encourage people that might not otherwise get into flying or becoming a pilot because they feel like, oh, I can't do it. It's too dangerous. I can't learn it. Their motto, if you can drive a car, you can fly a plane, they'll put you right up there. The thinking being that if you just get in the plane and fly it, then it'll be easier than trying to explain it to you. And you'll overcome your fear quicker. So that is especially because you only have to be, I think they found that the enthusiasm for this idea was especially key among younger people. So you only have to be 18. Okay, if you're 18 years old, you can get up in the plane. They throw you the keys. They clear the path out of the parking lot, and you putt down the parking lot and get her up in the air. And the thing is, you have to bring it back within an hour. You can't just fly it down to Fort Lauderdale for the weekend and come back. They'll be like, well, where have you been with the plane, man? And you're like, dude, there's a major raging party in Lauderdale. They're like, no, they don't want that. But if you bring it back in a reasonable amount of time, then that's what they want. They want to encourage people flying, building that pilot community. There is the Charlotte Trolley Museum. Now, this is interesting because there was a whole trolley network in Charlotte, and the Charlotte Trolley Museum is there to honor the past of the pretty extensive network of trolleys throughout Charlotte. In fact, probably the most popular one was the one that ran from Charlotte all the way down to Myrtle Beach. And so what you would have, and that's one reason why you have the prominent, why Myrtle Beach is so famous today, as opposed to surrounding beaches, is that the people from Charlotte had been going there for years on the trolley and having a wonderful time. Dancing on the beach, listening to beach music, doing the shag, and frankly, overindulging. But what they knew was, just like an Uber, they could get on that trolley and fall asleep on the way back to Charlotte. Well, once that word got out, then all of a sudden the Charlotte trolley system had to raise the prices on the Myrtle Beach run because so many people, there were people getting up on top of the trolley. They'd fall asleep on top of the trolley. And in those days, you could do that depending on the time of the year. All right, so now you also have the Light Factory in Charlotte, which is a museum and a place that honors the history of the light bulb. So it's really fascinating. You can walk through there and see all kinds of different lights, lamps. LED lights now are the latest phase. In fact, they have a whole LED light wing that you can walk through. And at the end, you can go through the Light Factory gift shop. And they have entire lines of clothing that have LED lights sewn into the seams, sewn into the pockets, so you can come out of there looking like Light Woman or Light Man. Probably the most popular item that they sell is a cowboy hat that has LED lights all along the edge, all along the edges. And if you have extra money, you can get the one that has a signboard in front that says, "Mamas, don't let your babies grow to be cowboys." And it's a kind of a moving LED light like you might see in Times Square or something like that, where it crawls across. Really fascinating and a lot of fun. You have the McCall Center for Art and Innovation. Now, this is cool because the McCall Center for Art and Innovation focuses on magazines, because McCall's was one of the original women's magazines or home magazines. And at the McCall Center for Art and Innovation, they talk about how they started the magazine, how it grew, where it is today, and what role it plays in developing products for the home or for traditional housewives, or in this day and age, anybody that's staying at home, which for a lot more people, they're working out of the home. They're staying at home, and of course, due to the current situation worldwide, everybody's quarantined. So that's why a lot of the ideas and innovations that you see at the McCall Center for Art and Innovation are key in this time period, because the work life is shifting, and we're starting to see a lot more remote workers. And this is interesting because Generation Z, actually you could say the millennials, but certainly Generation Z, this is a generation that is very comfortable developing relationships online. And with remote work, that is certainly the case, that all of your working relationships are online. So that's why it's so important to keep developing ideas and products that meet the needs of a shifting workforce. And at this particular center, especially in an innovative city like Charlotte that is already geared toward coming up with new ideas and being creative and being on the forefront of technology and applications for technology, then if you go in there, I'm sure you're going to get some ideas that will help you both not only professionally, but with people getting online. I got invited to a birthday party, okay, that will be all online through Zoom later this month. They've had Zoom funerals. They've had Zoom family reunions. And so if you go in there, for example, you can, they have a new idea that they're working on. I don't know if this is going to work out, but you are transported, much like you in the old Star Trek TV shows and of course the current movies. You are transported, not it's like a hologram. In other words, they're transporting your body and your voice to the other location, but you physically don't transport. And so that way your hologram can move around inside the other building, inside the other room that you're visiting. Perhaps it's a business meeting, perhaps it's a date, maybe it's a family get together like we mentioned. But what's interesting is you could essentially get your hologram to go to a relative's house, and what might be fun is to see if your thoughts, if your fears that your business partner is stealing money from you. You could send your hologram down there to peek around the corner and see if they're skimming money off the top when they do the books. Okay, this is what's interesting. So you could, for example, if you were in a relationship and feel like your partner may not be completely faithful, you could send your hologram down to sniff around, and you yourself have an alibi. So if they see your hologram and later confront you with it and say, I saw you sneaking around and checking on me, and you're like, I was here the whole time. I have no idea what you're talking about. And you could show emails and other correspondence that shows that you were in fact where you say you were, or perhaps even shoot a video, okay, during that time at your house that shows you were home. And you could say, no, I was shooting videos for my business, and here I am right at home. I was doing my podcast here. See? So that's what's kind of really cool about this new technology, is that you can send a hologram to another location. It's not you physically, but it looks just like you, right? While you sit at home sipping on a Starbucks coffee. So that's really the kind of neat ideas that you're seeing come out of a great city like Charlotte. Now, the Mint Museum is also one of the more popular destinations in the cultural scene in Charlotte. And that's, people don't realize there's like 20, 30, 40 different kinds of mint. Yes, peppermint, spearmint, all of those. But there's Christmas ornaments. There's different, so many different types of mints and mint applications and new products that include mint. Like, for example, well, here, let me go to another one, and then we'll talk about, and I'll bring it back. I'll bring it up. Watch me wrap it back around. So, all right, let me look back, and I'm going to tie this all together. Let's see. So okay, so you could go to the let me see, I just lost it here. The Charlotte Nature Museum in Freedom Park, okay? And at the Charlotte Nature Museum, kids, you see animals, you see plants, you learn about biology, geography, you learn about how the earth developed, you learn about the different ways that nature interacts with itself, the photosynthesis process. And one of the biggest displays there is the mint wing. They have an entire wing, an entire section of the Nature Museum dedicated to mint, which ties back into the Mint Museum. In fact, the Mint Museum grew out of the huge popularity of the mint section at the Nature Museum. And the reason that that's important is it just shows the interconnectivity, the teamwork that is going on in Charlotte. And so many people wanted to, well, and plus, let's be honest, people were stealing mint out of the Nature Museum. They're like, all right, and then they'd have a group leader taking a tour around the mint section. And, you know, the kind of person that's like, come on, and they beg you to go to the next point, and they walk to another point on the tour, and then they give a little speech about what's going on with those kinds of mints. Well, what was happening was people at the back of the group, especially some young thug types, were stealing mint. They were ripping mint right out of the ground and taking them home and cooking them up and using them in different products and foodstuffs and cooking and preparations. Well, finally, the people at the Nature Museum said, look, let's start a mint museum. We'll put it inside of a, brick stone building, and that way the security will be much higher, because at the Nature Museum it's a little more wide open and loosey-goosey, right? And it has to be. It's nature, all right? So they started the Mint Museum, and now you have people going on tours at the Mint Museum around the calendar every month, coming in and out of there. It's one of the highest attended museums in the state. And now, I won't kid you that somebody every once in a while during a tour tries to nab some mint at the back of the tour group. Well, they have highly trained security personnel that will see them on camera quickly and quietly. This is interesting. Quickly and quietly. They don't make a scene, but they will put some chloroform over that person's mouth until they very gently fall asleep on the floor of the Mint Museum, and then they will just drag them very softly and quietly and carefully, drag them by their pant legs and move them out the back. And they'll say, listen, we saw you stealing mint. We would like that you give us the mint back. If you empty your pockets, thank you. And please do not ever come back ever again. Guys, it's the most polite and careful extraction of a thief of any museum in the history of museums. And people actually feel so respected, even though they're complete dirty thieves, that they honor that and they never come back. And so that's why when you go to visit the Mint Museum, to see the 14 floors of different mints, I mean, they have mint slideshows, mint documentaries, mint displays, mint interactions, interactivity, mint displays for the kids. They have a mint gift shop. Yeah, they have everything you want. Okay? And so that's why people that even have been taken out for stealing mint feel respected, and a lot of times on their taxes as a contribution, they will dedicate $25, $30 to the Mint Museum, even though the Mint Museum is making probably $45 to $50 million a year just selling mint worldwide. It's one of the largest sources of mint for the developed world. So, guys, that's just a few of the things that is going on in what we might call the cultural world of Charlotte. There's so much more, and we're going to try to cover that, but we want to get to other aspects of the city. We're going to talk to people on the street. We're going to talk about the sports. We're going to cover sports in Charlotte, which are such an important part of the city, especially the professional teams. And then, starting Monday, today's Sunday, starting tomorrow, it's early Sunday, it's 4:49 a.m. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What is happening? Starting tomorrow, we're just coming to a whole new city. And later this year, I'm not exactly sure when, but I'm going to do a crazy idea. And I'll just keep it on the down low because I got to make sure I can pull it off. And right now it's a little wild with the quarantines and everything. It's hard to I'm not sure I have the time, but I have this crazy idea, which I think will be a lot of fun for you guys and me as well. So much more coming on the channel, guys. Keep coming back. We're going to be doing so many more things. We're going to be doing more lyrics explained, where I explain the lyrics of your favorite songs. We're going to do movie reviews, which I just got away from just because things have been crazy. Returning, in other words, some of the popular formats of these videos will return, and giving a little more variety to the channel rather than just city after city. But I love doing the city ones, a new one every week. And like I said, tomorrow we'll have a new city. We'll cover that all next week. So come on back, guys. Come on back, man. Yeah, come on back and see us. As usual, I've made this up off the top of my head. This is a parody channel. Please do not use this information for your senior's thesis or your master's work, because you will be kicked out of the college. And then you'll look at me like, hey, man, I got on the YouTuber to get this information, and I listened to your video, and I put it in my master's thesis, and then I flunked out. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to go, well, nothing.